Peacock bloodies its sweet tooth with Twisted Metal, American Horror Story Remake, sort of, and Return of the Living Dead gets reanimated, all on this Monday edition of Spill the Guts.
I like it spooky.
Hello and welcome to the start of your week. My name is Clint, and among many things, I am 1/3 of the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast every other week, as well as your horror genre news blitz roundup host every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on Spill the Guts. Today is Monday, July 17th, and this just in. The first Twisted Metal game was released in 1995, developed by SingleTrack and published by Sony for the original PlayStation. That original game spawned follow-ups and spin-offs, with a movie adaptation at one point in the works from the director of Crank and Ghost Rider. That project never came to be, and this TV adaptation has been in development for the past few years. BloodyDisgusting.com reports that the Peacock original series Twisted Metal has unleashed a brand new explicit trailer, labeled as such for one particularly gory scene featuring the villain Sweet Tooth. The latest trailer for Peacock's action comedy series also puts the spotlight on the automobile action you'd expect from a Twisted Metal series, which surprisingly hasn't been much of a focal point of the marketing up to this point. Twisted Metal premieres on July 27th, 2023, only on Peacock. Peacock's high-octane action comedy series, starring Anthony Mackie, follows a motor-mouthed outsider who is offered a chance at a better life, but only if he can successfully deliver a mysterious package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Will Arnett will be voicing Sweet Tooth in Peacock's Twisted Metal television series, with AEW superstar Samoa Joe physically embodying the iconic character. And from what I've seen from the trailer, Joe is gonna kill you. The series also includes Neve Campbell, Stephanie Beatriz, Thomas Hayden Church, Mike Mitchell, Taj Vahans, and Lou Beatty Jr. Michael Jonathan Smith from Cobra Kai is on board to write and showrun the Twisted Metal series, and additionally, Will Arnett and Mark Foreman are executive producing. This original take for the live-action series comes courtesy of Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the duo behind Zombieland and Deadpool.
This is gonna be fun. Peekaboo.
According to ScreenRant.com, although American Horror Story Delicate is likely to be as zany and unpredictable as every earlier outing of the horror anthology show, the upcoming 12th season of American Horror Story is based on an upcoming book and could secretly be an adaptation of a famous horror classic. Every season of American Horror Story begins with what seems like a simple story, only to soon take this plot in a wild new direction. The most infamous instance of this approach occurred when, for its first few episodes, American Horror Story Apocalypse told the tale of survivors eking out an existence after the end of the world. After the third episode, everyone was killed off as the focus shifted. The series strives to be unpredictable, and even when viewers think they have gotten a handle on the story of a given season, American Horror Story often takes sudden left turns. However, American Horror Story Delicate is the first season adapted from an existing novel, which makes its plot easier to guess. American Horror Story Delicate is based on an upcoming book, Danielle Valentine's Delicate Condition, that has been heavily compared to Rosemary's Baby. As such, there is good reason to believe that American Horror Story Season 12 will be an updated version of Ira Levin's legendary horror novel and its movie adaptation. The movie adaptation of Rosemary's Baby was released very soon after the book came out, with the novel arriving in March of 1967, while the movie was released in June of 1968. Admittedly, this is not as close together as American Horror Story Season 12 and Delicate Condition's release dates, but it does further underline the connections between the texts. While American Horror Story's most satisfying ending would connect all of the show's earlier seasons, the series is renewed through Season 13, so Delicate will not be the final installment. That said, American Horror Story Season 12 could still connect to previous seasons without derailing the novel's narrative. Sticking closely to the story of Rosemary's Baby would allow the season to employ a large group of antagonists, since the infamous ending of Rosemary's Baby reveals that almost every character was involved in a complicated, villainous conspiracy to ensure Rosemary gave birth. The story of Rosemary's Baby focuses on the psychological and, later, physical isolation that the eponymous heroine feels when she is unknowingly pregnant with the devil's child. To update this plot, American Horror Story Delicate's risky story will see its heroine try to conceive a child only to be thwarted at every step. According to the synopsis of Valentine's novel, Delicate Condition takes place in an isolated, snowbound town. This will be another major divergence from the plot of Rosemary's Baby. Levin's novel and its movie adaptation were set in New York, while American Horror Story Delicate's source material takes place in a less urban location. Now granted, production for American Horror Story Delicate has filmed in New York City, with series veteran Emma Roberts expected to be central to Season 12's plot as the woman whose hope of starting a family gets derailed by sinister forces. Alongside her, Delicate will star Kim Kardashian, Matt Zuckery, Cara Delevingne, as well as fellow AHS vets like Billy Lord, Zachary Quinto, and Dennis O'Hare. The question will be whether who is Roberts' supporting character and who is embodying the villainous Rosemary Baby roles in American Horror Story Season 12, Delicate. And it is now that time once again to pause for station identification and hear from our podcast network, the PFPN.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Do you copy over?
Come in dispatch. Send more paramedics.
Last story of the day comes to us from BloodyDisgusting.com, who reports that a Return of the Living Dead reboot is in the works and will expand the existing world. One of the greatest horror comedies of all time, Dan O'Bannon's 1985 movie The Return of the Living Dead, ended up launching a franchise that to date includes 5 total movies, but you mostly only hear horror fans talking about the first 3. The first sequel came in 1988 and featured returning actors, but 1993's Brian Yunza-directed Return of the Living Dead 3 went in an entirely different direction with a wildly different storyline. It's become a cult classic in recent years, thanks in large part to its central villain, a sexy zombie played by Melinda Clarke. And then we got Return of the Living Dead Necropolis and Return of the Living Dead Rave to the Grave, both released direct to television in 2005. Why don't horror fans talk about them? Well, they took the franchise down a not-so-quite desirable path. The 2 films were cheaply made and shot at the same time, and that was the end of the franchise for almost 20 years. But if George A. Romero and Dan O'Bannon taught us anything, it's that the dead are never truly dead, and it looks like a Return of the Living Dead reboot is shambling to life this year. The company Living Dead Media is behind the planned upcoming reboot, which has Steve Walsh from Muck and Kill Her Goats attached to direct. According to LivingDeadMedia.com, the next installment in the Return of the Living Dead franchise will reboot rather than remake. Quote, "Our reboot of Return of the Living Dead will expand the existing world created by the original 5 films, while staying true to the R-rated sci-fi horror dark comedy roots adored by fans of the cult classic around the world for the last 35 years. The company also notes on their official website, quote, "We are excited to resurrect this storied franchise for current zombie lovers and new generations of zombie fans." And it's time to stuff today's news into a barrel. But before I go, I just want to let you know that you can search up the emergency number stenciled on the side of the barrel by connecting with the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast on all mainstream social media platforms, and to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to listen in this coming Wednesday, as I will be discussing the current Screen Actors Guild strike and its ripple effects on another edition of Spill the Guts.
Hey, what's wrong with you, man? Show some fucking respect for the dead, will ya?